honeysuckle soup on a hot summer day. Coffee comes back in a nerve-wracking way. The dishes and laundry take the garbage out. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Welcome to Capital Region today. I'm so happy that you're joining us today. The month is almost over, but you know, February's coming and hopefully we'll get some really good weather in February as well. So we've got a great lineup today. It's a little bit, I don't have as many guests, but I'm going to devote a lot of time to one of the guests because his message is quite important. But we will be talking, first of all, with the Chinese Community Center to talk about Chinese Lunar New Year is coming, yay, and I always have a big party then. And then we're going to be talking about taxes, and I don't have any parties for taxes, but you know, it's possible. You never know. And then we're going to be talking with Professor Paul Murray, and he's done a documentary on the civil rights movement called Journey to Freedom, which is amazing. So we'll be talking quite a bit about what he has done to create this film, or this series, and to learn a little bit more about what people might have forgotten happened in 1964. We don't want to forget that. So anyway, we're going to start right off talking about the Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, Year of the Dragon.
Here you go, the dragon's here.
Why is the dragon important? Because you see the dragon for every New Year's, you see it for every celebration, you know, they get under it and they run with the dragon. I love that.
Right. So dragon, first of all, for the Asians, for Chinese, we're considered the descendants of dragons. You know, in the past, the emperors they're the son of the dragon. So basically that, even though it's not the real animal, it's tradition, it's kind of mysterious and then kind of royal. So that is definitely, to us, is very special. Okay, you can say that animal, but it's above animal. And then the 12 zodiac, the Lunar New Year animals, and dragon, obviously, with this mysterious side of it. And when it's dragon year, everybody pays more attention because it's dragon year and it's my year.
We just had the rabbit first.
Yes.
Rabbit was last time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's special, and especially this year, the Lunar New Year has become the New York State public school holiday.
Isn't that amazing? But it falls on a Saturday, so what do they do? Because I was trying to figure that one out.
Right. So this year, it's not going to affect the school calendar.
It won't change anything.
But the Lunar New Year's lunar calendar, the date change every year. So next year, it'll be, if I remember right.
Just like Easter and, you know.
Exactly.
Rosh Hashanah and all
that.
Right.
So next year, I believe it was on the Friday. It will be on the Friday. So
then they get the day off.
Yeah, the day the student's going to be off. So really excited to have that.
I'm so happy that they recognize that, because we have so many Chinese Americans in the or American Chinese, however you want to say it, in this state, and we really need to acknowledge that.
That's what they say. It's long due when they pass the bill to law. Really, it's not only Chinese though. It's Vietnamese, it's Myanmar, and it's like Indonesia. There are quite a few countries.
Oh, they all do.
They all celebrate
I did not know that.
the same date. Korean, for example. So it's not only for Chinese Americans, but for those Asian countries who celebrate. So this year we're actually going to celebrate together.
Would that be like
Vietnam?
Vietnam? No?
Yes.
Vietnam
as
well.
Same
well,
thing.
Then that's a big population.
It is a big thing. And I was lucky enough being invited as a speaker to the rally who pushed this bill into law in the Capitol Hill in Albany. And during my speech, I did say, if Lunar New Year become the public school holiday, I will make day a party. And it's going to be. So we have a lot of things going on. We call it Lunar New Year month because it's not only a day, you know.
Well, in China, it's like 7-8 days.
It's
and they
2
say
weeks.
You can't possibly find transportation. I know my friend Jinfei Bao said it's an incredible migration.
It is.
Throughout China.
It's a holiday. You definitely want to go home. Thanksgiving, Christmas, you want to go home, be with your family, and then just do nothing, and then just really give the celebration a go for the whole period, 2 weeks of time. And then for us, we partner with local libraries. We call it introduction.
You're doing 4 of them. I saw that.
Yeah, right. I mean, introduction to Lunar New Year, and then we Colony Library with Guilderland Library and Clifton Park Library. So your viewers.
I think that's wonderful to do that, to raise the awareness.
Exactly, with hands-on activities and performances. And then
Now,
also,
what would be traditional foods that, I got a bug here, traditional foods that would, you would, I mean, like, you know, we talk about, well, Easter, you know, they usually have a ham or a turkey.
I
you know.
see. Got your point.
What, do you have anything special?
Yes.
It's got to be dumplings.
Dumplings, absolutely.
Got to be dumplings.
Gotta be dumplings. That's something because it's the skin wrapped things in there, and then sometimes we wrap in corn, the lucky coin in there.
Yeah.
So that's something definitely symbolizes Lunar New Year, and plus
And a
a
little
fish.
red packet too.
Yeah, red packet. The red packet with money. That's what we needed, especially the children are looking forward to that. Just like
They make out
Christmas,
pretty
they're
good
looking for
sometimes.
gifts. Yes, and then fish, because in the way
and fish,
the
okay.
Chinese language, fish means extra, sounds like extra, the similar
sound
sound
alike.
of it. So meaning that you want to have an extra year by year is always a good way to do it. But I'm here actually to present two of the highlight event during the Lunar New Year celebration.
You've got a fabulous event coming up at the Egg. Let's tell, because we have photos to
Right. But I believe in the
if you bring up
sequence,
some of the photos and maybe we can talk about them.
right. Let's talk about the first event, the art exhibition, because that's what here we go with.
Oh, you want to talk about the art first?
the-
Okay, we'll talk about the art then.
So that's the on the February 2nd to February 4th. That'll be in CCC, and then that will be Yang Liuqing Lunar New Year art, which is Yang Liuqing art is from a town, a small town, but 1 hour from Beijing, and it's so historical. Listen to this. It was emerged in Song Dynasty, day back in the year 960, as early as that, and getting popular in about the year 1300 in Ming Dynasty.
Okay.
And then it always has been so distinctive art, the features of it. I would call it Chinese animation. You would see it, you know it's Yang Liuqing. And until this day.
I mean, I've seen Raymond, could you bring up the photos one more time? Or not the photos, the paintings. Pictures.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So.
Okay, let's talk about them because they're very characteristic.
They are very. So they have a lot of lively, it's a folk art, right? It's a lot of
It's
lively
folk art, yes.
figures, and with children, animals, and in play, and then door guards, and then the way it's so colorful, and then the people will hang it up during Lunar New Year times on windows and the doors, and then they are all hand painted, and they are they're on the way shipping it over from China to CCC.
So these
from that
are
town.
actually from China.
From China, from that particular town. Till this day, 2/5 the residents over there, they still doing the same art their ancestors
I think there's
doing.
another 3 too, Raymond, that you can bring up.
So it's incredible. We had the chance be able to receive these art
Yeah, these are a
right
little bit
during
different
Lunar New Year
and
time.
the babies are always so fat.
They're always full, chubby.
Yes.
They're cute. They're just cute.
I know,
Right,
they've got these
right.
little fat faces.
So, and you gotta come over to the reception.
I'll be
so
there.
So that opening ceremony reception will be in February 2nd,
Okay.
Friday, and the 5:30. So with the CCC, the wall will be full of this gorgeous arts, and with traditional music, Chinese music instruments, such as guzheng. But this time we got pipa, you know, that oval shape, elegant, and the ladies did this. Oh, it's just gorgeous. We haven't got this for many years. And then they're like, this year we got it. And the Chinese flute, they're gonna play, and then
Oh, I can't wait.
get this, my tea ceremony again. You love that.
She does a wonderful tea ceremony. I never knew there was a white tea, a black tea, a red tea, a green tea. What?
Right,
What are all these teas?
So that event, you know, if you love arts, this cultural music
Is it open to the
instrument,
public?
it is. Anybody. So, I mean, we do prefer registration because we don't want people waiting by the door.
Yeah.
And then, so just go to the website, cccalbany.org, you know, then can register. But walking is okay as long as you're not going to waiting outside.
Yeah,
depending on
especially the cold day.
The cold day, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then that leads us to the most important event of the year for the CCC, the Lunar
Can't
New
wait.
Year Gala
Can't
Show
wait.
in the Egg. In the Egg. I would just say this is the show to go during Lunar New Year, folks.
It's
the show.
everything.
It's really everything. You're so right. So the program is 17 program. It's a big show, 2.5 hours with intermission. And the show feature the, you know, what you wanted to see, the dragon dance, amazing Chinese
Love the
kung
dragon,
fu,
yeah.
and then the elegant fan dancing and long sleeve
The way they
dancing.
snap
Yeah,
those- they
right,
snap
right.
those-
Yeah, the long sleeves or the fan, and
Yeah.
all the gorgeous costumes, and then
And the
also-
Peking opera
Peking
singer,
opera team.
she is so good at that with her arms and her.
Yes.
It's like, wow, did she do that?
And this year, she's going to sing a duet. She's singing Peking opera, and then another classic opera singer going to sing Italian. You know who?
Yeah, I know who.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Franco
So the
Spoto.
East meet West. That's something we're definitely looking forward
If you
to.
haven't heard his voice is amazing.
I'm looking forward to hear that in person.
Amazing, yeah.
Right, that's
He's
amazing.
done a lot of ships, where you take the ship and he's the entertainer on the ships.
Cruise.
Yes, the
wow.
cruises. Yeah, he's got an amazing voice.
I'm so looking
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
I also want to say because
And you have
they are
not karate, but
The kung fu.
Kung fu.
the kung fu. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also mentioned that all the programs are local. We did a selection with the local Chinese and Chinese descendants. It's amazing how talented they are.
I know.
The younger people, they're both in the local youth orchestra, on the pianos. They're just like amazing. And then all these ladies who doing those elegant dances with full costume, with all the energy. And the seniors does a beautiful Tai Chi fan dancing. And then the little kids, 5, 6 years old, Chinese school students, with their lovely costume and dancing for the New Year. It's really a show for all family-based, all ages. Really, as you said, it's got everything, and really they show to go. So during intermission, there'll be very delicious Asian food for vendors, crafts, and the
good.
calligraphy master
Well,
and
yeah.
write the Chinese characters for Lunar New Year, and then they even write your names in Chinese. You can and they write it in
I know,
Chinese.
I know.
Yeah.
I think I have a stamp with my name. They in China they made a stamp for me with my name. Of
Right.
course. Yeah.
We're also going to put a portion of the Yang Liu Qing art over there too during
Yeah,
intermission, so
okay,
people
so
get
yeah,
more chance to
yeah.
see it. Yeah. So we also do a VIP reception, but that's invitation only.
Yeah. It's an amazing event, and there are so many people that are. I want to say the word jubilant, but that doesn't touch it. It's sort of like there's a celebratory feeling in the room that everybody's like happy.
That's the point, because after Christmas and New Year, it's quiet time, right? And then everybody looking for the winter break. But Lunar New Year comes the right time. We should be just making fun and celebration and all the color of red, dragon dance and parties, just boost up the winter.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it, So that's what
Exactly.
I like to do, celebrations.
Parties.
So
Yeah.
parties everywhere.
Yeah.
So your viewers can go to local libraries, to see if they want to do hands-on activity with the library with us.
And I have those on if you're on my mail, my weekly mailing, I have all of those listed on my weekly
Thank
mailing.
you so much.
So that everybody's aware of that. If you're not on, you can contact me and I'd be glad to put you on my list. I want to thank you for being here because it's always fun to talk to you. Number one.
My
and number two,
pleasure.
she's always got some great stuff going on. And I just love going to the Chinese Community Center because, well, first of all, everybody's so friendly and nice, and it's just fun to be there and to see some of the exhibitions. And when you have your open house, I would invite you to check it out because sometimes we get wrapped up in our own little world, and there's a big world out there. Let's just enjoy it all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Boost up the winter time.
Yes, good. Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thank you,
It's always
and
good to see you, and
lovely
I'll be
to see
seeing
you.
you.
Pretty soon.
Yeah, I got the art exhibit. I got it's all there. I'm doing it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll see you. Good. Now we're going to talk about taxes, and like I said, I'm not going to have a party about taxes, but I could.
Good.
I could.
Why not?
Why not?
It's important. Death
I'll
and
do it on the
taxes.
16th of April
April,
when it's over.
when it's over.
Or is it over?
I don't know. It depends on what when
the
the
holiday
Patriots.
is in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I think it's that Monday is the 15th, so it probably would be.
Patriots Day, is it, or something?
Yeah, I think it goes to the 16th then.
Yeah, so something like that. So anyway, I get mine done in February, though. I want to get them out of the way.
Yeah,
personally.
good for you.
But what you want to do is talk about, first of all, 211, they can call to get the number to find out where they can get them done. But Circles of Mercy, you've been on many, I should probably
Longevity,
count.
yes.
Yeah. See how many times you've been on.
Probably a senior I was going to say contestant.
Yeah.
A senior.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're one of
interviewee.
my senior
But anyway,
guests here.
It's nice to be back. Thanks. You're right about this little bug.
I know he's kind of flitting around here, but
Yeah, so, Circles of Mercy is the sponsored work of the Sisters of Mercy. We've got a 25-year tradition of providing hope, hospitality, and empowerment to individuals in the Rensselaer community with a special focus on women and women with children.
Yeah.
Our tax program is probably our most popular program.
and you get a lot of volunteers.
We have a great group of volunteers that help us during this time. They're all seasoned volunteers. They study the tax law. They take exams through the IRS, and then they get certified.
They don't do complex tax.
No, they're very.
So if you have rental property or anything, they're not going to do any of that.
No, we can't do that. Self-employment is limited. We can do some things, but it's limited as to whether or not you take a loss. If you take a loss, then we can't do the return. But if it's just a strict,
A small business.
Yeah,
a
small business
yeah.
or Uber, like
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
that's doing something part-time, we can handle that. But it's a good point about the rental income. That's something that we can't do.
Depreciation and all.
Yeah.
You just don't do any of
Yeah,
that.
so-
That means it's the ability of them learning the tax laws is minimal to what the entire tax law.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's the program's designed that way. The focus of the program is to reach those, the working poor, seniors with fixed incomes, those individuals.
Get their money back.
Right, to get their money back and take advantage of tax credits. You have the tax credits for earned income tax credit, child care credits.
yeah.
So those are the things that we're interested in making available to that part of the population so that they avoid what we spoke about earlier before the show about going to a commercial preparer and getting an advance on their refund, and then they get stuck.
They get an advance. It really isn't. It's a loan.
Yeah, and they get stuck paying that interest because they don't pay it back in a timely fashion because they've spent all the money.
They spent the money.
So
Yeah.
there are some things that we require for when you come into the site. 211 is a good way to find out where sites are available. You tell the resource operator your zip code, and she can tell you the different agencies that are within that zip code that provide the VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Service. If that doesn't work, then give us a call at Circles, and we'll be glad to help you out. But there are certain things that we need. One is a picture ID, whether it's your driver's license, state ID, college ID, something that's got your picture on it. Most people have driver's license or the
Or
state.
the enhanced driver's
Right.
license. They can bring a passport
Right,
in or
and
anything. Yeah.
that we can do that too. We ask for, and the reason for this is we want to make sure that you are who you are, and your children are your claimants.
Okay, I don't
okay?
quite-
Well, what I'm getting to is Social Security cards.
When you're born, aren't you supposed to get a Social Security number?
Right, but if you're coming in and you're having your children as dependents, then you need to provide to us their Social Security card.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And the same thing for whoever's signing the return or is going to be included on the return. So we need, besides picture IDs, we need the Social Security cards. Then the W-2s or 1099s that were generated during
1099s would be for interest. And
right,
stuff, yeah.
interest or miscellaneous income, that kind of stuff, that were generated or done in 2023, the year that we just finished. Any other IRS forms that are appropriate. If available, we'd like, and especially if we didn't do your return at Circles, then we'd like to see a copy of your
The last one.
Right, the 2022 tax
So
return.
do you keep the copies, or do you have access to the copies?
Limited, but
Limited,
yes.
okay.
Yeah. And then if a filer gets their health insurance through the New York State marketplace, excuse me, there's a tax premium that's associated with that, so they get a reduced rate for that insurance.
Oh, I see.
That's
Okay.
got to be reported. So
Okay.
that would come to an individual on a 1095.
Because I noticed it asked you, did you get it through the marketplace? And I always
Marketplace.
put no because
And that's it, because it's a 1095A form.
Okay.
Your insurance companies, for the rest of us, will give us 1095Bs and Cs, and they're just they're not required. Where the 1095A is because of the tax premium.
I see.
The best thing to do is to have a checking account or a savings account,
The money goes right in there,
direct deposit. So
and
we
it's
need
fast.
yeah, we need the routing number and the account number.
Just bring in your check, and
Yeah,
it's right
well,
on there.
And you mentioned fast. So on federal, it's usually about 7 to 10
Yeah,
business
it's pretty
days.
fast.
It is.
New York State's a little bit slower.
Longer. So we don't have any idea when the New York State will come.
Yeah.
But what you can do is go to the New York State Tax and Finance website and then sign up for a notification.
Oh, okay.
And you put your Social Security number in with your email or your text message on your cell phone, and you'll get a notification when the refund.
So it's okay to put your Social Security number in on that site?
Yes, that's
because they already
it's-
have it anyway.
Yes, it's protected.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is if you're using a dependent care person for child care, you can write that off. The only way to write it off is you need to provide to the preparer
A Social Security number.
and that person's name and address,
Right.
and that's entered right in. So it's pretty simple. We begin the program in earnest February the 1st, and as we mentioned, it goes on to April 16th or 17th, whatever Patriots Day
You don't do
falls.
late filings.
Well, we run the service is available all year long.
Okay.
But it depends on the reason. If you come and say, well, I just forgot, we're not going to do it outside of the filing season. But if you come to me and say,
I was in an auto accident and I was
right,
in the
if you were
hospital.
hospitalized or you need to file for a new mortgage or a student needs to file for a TAP,
Okay.
that type of stuff, then we'll do a late return.
Okay.
But generally speaking, those are the kind of the limitations.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much it.
So how do they get a hold of you?
Well, there's a couple things they can do. I think the most important thing to remember, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, was the 211. Call the 211. It's the social service resource operator. Give her your address and zip code, and she'll tell you where the closest Vita site is.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay? Otherwise, give us a call at Circles, area code 518-462-0899, or drop me an email, and the email is the name of the
You
organization.
can always contact me and I
Right?
can give you
Yeah,
that information.
Circles of Mercy at NICAP.rr.com. And it's always a busy year. Last year, and this is not an indication of how we perform every year, but last year we did a little over, not quite 350 returns, and you're talking combined refunds and credits of a little over $750,000.
And that money comes right back into our community.
Right back into the community. People pay their rent, they pay their utilities, they buy food, they clothing.
Support the community.
Right. So it's a great
It's a win-win
service.
situation.
It is, very much so.
Yeah, yeah. And don't fall for the advance,
Yeah.
what is it, they advance the refund, or they give it a silly
right.
name or something.
They call it a
Anticipation loan.
Anticipation loan. There's something else.
They
in
forget to tell you that they charge
there.
interest.
Yeah, there's a huge interest rate.
Yeah.
So don't go there.
Don't go.
Call us. Call Ann. Call
Wait
211.
wait 7 days to get your refund, and
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
It is. It works out well. It's very popular, and it's a program that's provided throughout the region.
Exactly.
So if you're in a county, like in Rensselaer County, we have 3 areas. There's us in Rensselaer, There's a site, 2 sites up in Troy, and I don't know.
Maybe Brunswick? No.
No, there was a Hoosick.
Hoosick.
Hoosick
Okay.
Falls. So, so we've got a number of sites in the county, and that's, like I said, it's replicated throughout the capital region. Call 211.
Okay, good. And Richard will be on again because will keep us updated if there's any changes in the law, if there's last-minute changes.
Yeah.
And you'll find out just how things are coming along and whether they've maybe abolished the IRS all of a sudden.
I don't think that's going
I
to happen.
don't think that's going to happen either. Richard,
so-
thanks so much
Pleasure,
for being
Ann.
here.
Have a great New
Happy
Year.
Lunar New Year.
Same
So,
to you.
Good.
Thank you.
Paul Murray, how are you, Professor Paul Murray?
I'm fine. Happy to be here.
Yes,
Ann.
I
Yes.
know, and what you're doing is so exciting. Paul Murray, well, first of all, you have been at Siena College, and I believe I asked you, what courses did you teach? Because I think that's interesting.
Well, I taught most of the courses that were offered in the sociology department at one time or another.
Okay.
Introduction, research
Sociology.
methods, statistics. But my very favorite course was to teach about the civil rights movement.
Yeah, that's interesting. Not every college probably teaches that, but I'm glad that you did because it raises the awareness of a lot of these 18-year-olds have no clue. I mean, they'll say to you, did you fight in the World War I? Or, they don't know
Well,
time frames or anything.
That's the image that I use, because the time from now to back to 1960s is the same as when I was a youngster and my grandfather talking about World War I.
Exactly.
And that seemed like a long
time ago.
Long time ago.
So it puts things in perspective.
Yes, I think so.
So what you've done is you've done a documentary, but one of the things that I found to be fascinating is that you were able to get 15 people to talk about their experiences.
Well, I've done a series of
That's what I mean,
documentaries.
yeah.
We've got 13 different
Right.
films. And these are people who came to my class as guest speakers, rather than having the students listen to me all the time.
They listened to it firsthand.
But these are also people who, had the firsthand experience, and that's what I wanted to share with the students, to understand there were many different people involved in the civil rights movement who did many different things. What they get in high school and maybe middle school is to skim the surface. You understand perhaps who the main leaders of the movement were. You learn about Martin Luther King, you learn about Rosa Parks, you learn about John Lewis, you learn about Malcolm X, you learn
If you're
about...
lucky.
If you're lucky. If you're lucky.
And I'm saying that because you don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't, yeah. It's, it's part of the state curriculum, but how much the students remember
Well, it may
from
be
that.
the state curriculum here, but there may
Yeah.
not be the state curriculum in other states.
Well, of course.
So,
of
I mean,
course,
we have
yes.
to realize that we have to keep the story going so that people do understand what happened. I know that you brought some photos, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you want to go with this. Do you want to talk about the photos or talk about putting the series together? How would you like to do that?
Let me begin by talking about putting this series
Good.
together. After I retired, I knew that I wanted to do these interviews with the guest speakers, and I kept putting it off. And then 2 years ago, one of the guest speakers, someone who was just a marvelous individual, passed away, and I said,
Uh-oh.
if not now,
When?
And I began lining people up. And so these are all people who came to my classroom, who shared their experiences, and they agreed to be interviewed. This past summer, we had some vacant space in one of the classroom buildings, and we brought each of our veterans, as I call them. We
they're
brought
veterans.
them to be interviewed.
It was a war in a way.
And you were one of the interviewers,
Yeah.
so you know what that was like.
Yeah.
And we've since been editing the videos and putting them together. The goal is to make them available to the general
Libraries.
public. It will be posted on the Siena College website when we're ready to go. And the event that I'm going to be talking about on February 3rd will be our launch. After
How
that,
great that
after
is.
that point, the
Sarah's
videos
in
will
Student
be
Center, I
will
think,
be
yeah.
will be available, and we will also be honoring the veterans of the civil rights movement, the people who were interviewed.
I'm going to
And that's-
back up just one bit.
Yeah.
How did the students, how did they feel when they heard the speakers? And we're going to go talk about the other, but
Yeah.
I just want to back up because you said you brought them in to talk to the students.
Yes.
Were they amazed? Were they, when's the next break? I mean, what happened?
You'll have to talk to them to really get the straight story. But one
From
of
your impression.
But one of the speakers early on, my friend Jim Owens, talked about his experience integrating his high school. And Jim came back and just sat in the seats, and the students competed to see who could sit next to him.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go.
So I think
So it
that-
had an impact.
I think they were very well received.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, to the fact that
Absolutely.
there was segregation to that extent, there's probably still segregation now, but they don't call it that, right?
Well, you know, this was legally enforced
yeah, I know,
segregation.
I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you brought these people through the documentary. Tell me how each of them, I guess what I'm trying to say is you had the documentary, what story did they tell? Did they tell?
Come on, man. There were 15 different stories.
I know,
you
that's what I'm saying. What?
Yes.
Tell me about them.
Well, one of my favorites was a young woman by the name of Nell Stokes. Nell has been very active in the community, in her church group, and she tells about growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, a very segregated society. And when she was about 16 years old, that was at the time of the Montgomery bus boycott.
Oh, yeah.
And she heard about what was going on, and she wondered, was there anything that she could do to help? And she knew there was a taxi cab company that provided rides for people who might have had difficulty walking when they were boycotting the buses.
Oh, okay.
And she went to the taxi cab company, and they said, well, yeah, you know, you could help us. You know, you could help us clean up afterwards. You could run errands for the people in the taxi cab company. You could help carry home the groceries for some of the people that we were carrying. You know, it wasn't out front. She wasn't on a picket line. She wasn't getting arrested.
But she was helping.
But she was doing her part to help the movement. You know, at 16.
That's an interesting
At
story.
16 years old, and then she later moved to Albany.
Yeah, and who would have thought? I mean, like Andressa. I mean, these people that are just amazing that are landed here.
Yeah, but that's one of the points that I try to make, is that the leaders of the civil rights movement are the people, you know, we've kind of canonized, the people who are just
They had the face.
set apart from normal mortals. But the movement itself consisted of thousands of individuals who were doing their part. You know, some of them it might just have been for a day or two. Some of them it might have been for several months. Some of them devoted their entire careers to working for the movement. But the general public has not heard about these people and does not associate them as a part of the movement.
And there were little things that they did to challenge, always to challenge the law, whether it was sitting in a restaurant that they shouldn't be sitting in, or you know, or going to a movie theater that they weren't supposed to go to. It was like incremental. It took a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there.
And what they did, many of them, was to support the people who demonstrated. Some people, you know, had families to raise. They couldn't go to jail, but they could do other things. They could prepare the meals, for example, or they could go out and raise funds.
It could be the
to
support
support
staff, so
to
to
support
speak.
the movement. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for every person who was out front, there were a few people in the background who were helping to make that possible. So one of the people that is included is a woman by the name of Jeanette Gottlieb. She was a student at the North Carolina College for Women in Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, people who've studied the civil rights movement know that Greensboro was the site of the initial student sit-ins. Well, Jeanette was not one of the students who demonstrated. She had promised her father, since she was the first person in her family to go to college, that she would not
Get
be
kicked out.
arrested.
Yeah.
She didn't say she wouldn't participate, and what she did was to help the people who did participate. If someone was going to be demonstrating, she said, I'll take notes for you if you have classes that you missed.
So she helped that way, yeah.
Yes. And then she said later on, she and a integrated group of friends went to the local movie theater and asked to purchase tickets. And the guy behind the ticket booth said, well, you know, you're going to have to sit upstairs and they're going to have to sit downstairs. And he said, no, we want seats together. And he kind of hemmed and hawed and eventually
You put
said,
everybody upstairs?
oh, go ahead.
Oh, you didn't see, that was good. See, but
And-
that was a way of challenging without
Yeah.
being,
But,
yeah.
you know, after that, you know, integrated groups were not segregated as far as their seating was concerned. So, yeah, it was not going to make major headlines in the daily newspaper, anything like that, but it was a step towards the integrated society that people were striving towards.
So who are some of the, could you name the people so that we can give them a shout out as being part of this?
Oh dear, I'm afraid
You
I
didn't bring
I
a
will-
list.
Well, I mentioned Jim Owens.
And
you know.
Gottlieb.
I mentioned Jeanette Gottlieb. We should mention her husband, Stephen Gottlieb, who was a civil rights lawyer, participated in the March on Washington. Let's see, Ann Pope, who was president of the local chapter of the NAACP for many years. People probably in this area who are attuned to public events probably know about Alice Green, who's been the head
Alice
of
Green,
Center
you brought photos
for
of
the
that too,
Center of the Law and Justice, been a very vocal advocate,
Very
both,
vocal.
both for prisoners' rights and for against police brutality. You know, so she was not part of the Southern civil rights movement, but she was definitely part
Part of the movement,
civil rights movement, very much so.
And we still are facing civil rights issues.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not be, you know, the way we saw it in 1964.
Mm-hmm.
So what was Freedom Summer?
Freedom Summer was a project in 1964 to bring volunteers from outside the South to the state of Mississippi. Mississippi had absolutely the worst record with regards to discrimination, with regards to racial violence, and the civil rights workers in Mississippi were frustrated because they would go out and they would work and they had very little progress to show. Said, what's going to change the deal? Well, maybe if we bring in 1,000 volunteers from the northern states, the media will start to pay attention and we will begin to get more support for the things that we're trying to do. And they brought in 1,000 volunteers, many of them college students. And people have heard about the murders of Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney. They were part of the volunteers that came down
That made headlines
Mississippi.
Everywhere,
Of
that
course.
whole thing, because they said, I think even after they found their bodies that were mutilated obviously they were not treated well before they were murdered, and they said, even the coroner, I understood, said he couldn't figure cause of death, right? Something
Well,
like
no.
No, is
I
that
don't
not true?
think that's true.
Okay.
They certainly determined the cause of death was gunshot wounds.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Shot at point blank range, yes.
But it was kind of like a cover up a little bit, you know, in the community, because they said that it was a hoax. They really they weren't missing. And I mean,
Well,
there
that was
so much.
that was the initial reaction,
Yeah.
but everybody who was involved in the movement knew from
That
the
something
time
had
that they
happened.
had disappeared, they were in the heart of Ku Klux Klan country.
Yeah.
They knew that the local law enforcement was affiliated with the Klan. They knew that they had been arrested. That was enough time to alert the Klan,
where
to
they were gonna
ambush
be.
them as they were driving
Yeah.
away from jail.
Such a tragedy that, you know, we know about them, the three, but there were probably so many others that were murdered. And
If you were to go to Montgomery, Alabama, and visit the memorial, the Justice Memorial, they commemorate the lynchings that took place, the people who were lynched. And you walk through, and there are tablets hanging overhead with the names of people who had been lynched in the various counties of the various states.
yeah,
Not all of them in the South, but many of them, very many of them in the South.
I think what was the last lynching was in, I think, Omaha, Nebraska, or somewhere. Nebraska, I think.
It depends on how you define it.
Yeah, I mean, because I
Yeah.
was shocked to hear that. What? Are you kidding? But no, they weren't kidding. It was. There's still anger out there, and the fact that the Ku Klux Klan still exists is just boggles my mind.
So when we talk about lynchings, that brings to mind Ann Pope, because Ann grew up in a small southern town, a place called Shibuda, Mississippi.
Okay. I am surprised you remembered.
They had something like 600-700 people living there. It's a very, very small, segregated community. And outside of the town is a bridge that has been abandoned but is still standing, and it's known as the Hanging
Well,
Bridge.
you brought a picture of that. Yeah.
There is a photo
Yeah.
of that.
I don't
yeah.
know if we probably can't find it quickly, but well, maybe
But-
let's look at the photos. Let's take a moment and just look at some of the photos, and maybe we can go over them and see where we are. Okay, there's
Okay.
the first set. It's the one on the upper,
Yes.
And what-
Upper right.
the upper right.
Yes.
That's the hanging bridge, right?
That's the Hanging Bridge outside of Shibuda, Mississippi.
Okay.
And there were several separate incidents where African Americans were hung from that bridge. Now, if we go to the upper, the center, in the center,
Okay.
that goes back to my college days.
Are you in that photo?
The young man on the right in front is me 60 odd years ago.
Now, were you active in the civil rights movement?
Yes, I was.
You were.
That's
Okay.
one of the reasons I care about
Now,
this so much.
I'm just
Yeah.
want to reiterate.
And this was a group called the Human Relations Club. And what we did was we went around and we spoke on the topic of human relations. We didn't,
Okay.
at that point, we didn't even talk about civil rights. We talked about
Human relations, yeah.
And the picture on the bottom right
Okay.
is part of our group speaking at a Catholic school. We always would send out an integrated group, and we would deal with issues that were closest at hand, as well as the national issues. And we like to think we made a difference. It's hard to tell.
Well, you know, you
But-
probably did, but don't realize it. Let's look at another set of the photos
Yes.
too, while we're at it. While I was looking at photos.
the next set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
Let's. Oh yes. Okay. So in the bottom row in the center there, that was taken in June of 1963. This was the first civil rights demonstration I was a part of. This is when Martin Luther King came to the city of Detroit. It was shortly after the Birmingham demonstrations were over. The people of Detroit were very happy to have Dr. King come, and according to the newspaper reports, there were 125,000 people marching down Woodward Avenue,
in Detroit.
was the main drag of the Detroit downtown.
Wow,
Now,
yeah.
the people with me were members of the campus NAACP organization, and we had our own small delegation from the University of Detroit. We were not able to get into the auditorium where Dr. King gave his address, but we could stand outside listening to the public address system, and we heard Dr. King talking about, I have a dream. Now, this was 2 months before the March on Washington. He was doing a dress rehearsal for the speech he was going to give 2 months later. So that when I had a chance to go to the March on Washington, I told my friend's mother, no, I've already heard Dr. King. And of course, everybody remembers the March on Washington. And I have to say, no, he gave that speech first at the Walk to Freedom in Detroit.
Wow. I heard Martin Luther King speak at Kansas State University. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, you know, I knew that he was going to be, but he was like mesmerizing. He spoke, and the silence, and I mean, it was, you could almost feel it. So yeah, I remember him quite well, and it was like an amazing experience for me. And that was in the late 60s that I heard him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well.
about then.
So, should we look at some other photos?
Yeah, can we look at another
Okay.
set?
No, go back. Go back to the previous set.
There we are.
Okay. The clipping on the left there is a high school meeting, a citywide high school meeting to talk about, we didn't say human relations, we didn't say civil rights, we talked about brotherhood.
Oh, well, yeah, the brotherhood movement, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a very sexist terminology. We didn't even think about
Well,
that.
yeah, I think that brotherhood
we didn't
is
think
more,
about that
more,
aspect
yeah,
of it.
or sisterhood, or
But-
humanhood.
But that was very important for me because one of my teachers, I was taught by Catholic nuns. She kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Paul, would you like to go to this conference on Saturday?" And you know, that's kind of like the offer you can't refuse.
You can't refuse, yeah.
No.
It's like The
You
Godfather.
couldn't- you couldn't really say no to the sister. And so I went there, and I didn't know a soul, but we were addressed by a state Supreme Court justice, and then we broke into discussion groups as these things go. And the young man who was presiding at the discussion group was a student at the University of Detroit, an African-American student who was very bright, very articulate, very well informed. After the group broke up, he and I continued in the conversation, and he belonged to that human relation club that I had later joined. And the following year, we invited him to come to our high school in segregated Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And when I went to my 50th high school reunion, some of my high school classmates were still talking about the time we brought the African American speaker to the high school.
You went to a segregated school?
Well, it was an all-white suburb, so
I mean, if there were
not
blacks living
segregated,
there, they would have been there, but they weren't.
it's not segregated by law.
No, but it was.
But it
that's
was-
what I'm saying. That there's segregation that you can't. It isn't labeled segregation.
But it was enforced by the local real estate.
Yeah, what they call redlining the
Establishment.
property and stuff.
Well,
yeah.
that was lending, that the loans would be given in certain areas and not in other areas. But that
okay.
was a part of it. But
Yeah.
Grosse Pointe had a system where people were prospective home buyers were rated on a formal questionnaire, and they weren't discriminating only against African Americans. They were discriminating against Jews. They were discriminating against Asians. They were discriminating against anybody who was too foreign.
Okay, let me tell you, my aunt bought a home on Gray Avenue in Schenectady. They got the deed, and in the deed it said, this house will not be sold to Italians or blacks. And of course we're Italian.
Yeah.
But so apparently nobody paid any attention to that. But I mean, at that point, it didn't count, so to speak.
Well,
but the fact is, they even redlined Italians.
That depends on the time frame. For a considerable period of time, what were called restrictive covenants were legally enforceable, and then there was a lawsuit that challenged that, and eventually.
Well, I'm sure because they were Italian and they bought the house, but when they got the deed, they could not believe what they read.
Well, you know what, and if I can show you the questionnaire that they used, they wanted to ask if the people spoke English clearly.
Really?
Yeah, they were not too foreign.
Oh yeah, we don't want no xenophobic.
These were the real estate agents that were enforcing that, and they
were the screeners, right? They were the screeners.
They justified it in terms of the property values. But I want to talk about our Journey to Freedom event.
Yes, please do.
Please, okay. So we've been working, we shot the interviews in the summer, we've been editing the interviews, and they're going to become publicly available after February 3rd. But we want to have a big
celebration,
kickoff event, a big celebration, and this is going to take place at Siena College on Saturday, February 3rd. Here, I've got my
you got your flyer
propaganda.
there, and I downloaded one off the web. So
okay, and we're going to.
I think it's from 3 to 4:30, right?
3 to 4:30.
Saracen
in the student union, the Saracen Student Union. Yes, there should be plenty of parking available since the professors and the commuting students will not be there. And we want to welcome the general public, and we're going to give a short preview of the videos because the videos themselves run from 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
You're doing a sampling.
We'll just do a.
What better month is Black History Month?
A brief preview, and we're going to have all of the interviewees that are going to be present.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's going to be an event that honors them for their contributions to improving our society.
I'm glad that you're doing this because, as you said, people die off.
Well.
And these people were there, they're not young now, but their passion was there, and we need to address that.
Just about all of the people that we interviewed are in their 80s or nearly in their 80s.
Yeah.
And we know that they're not going to be with us much longer.
Right.
But if we have
on film,
if we have the video recordings, future generations will be able to see that. And
this is a historical document that you've put together.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Even though I taught sociology, I think most of what I've been doing since I retired would fall under history. And the articles that I've published have been all been in history journals.
We can't forget. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the Holocaust and and trying to kind of forget that that didn't really happen or something, or this didn't happen. It's like, no, we need to continue to talk about this, make people aware. And like they say, if you don't know what history repeats itself, well, I think it does repeat itself, even if you do know. So you better know a lot more than you should know.
Well, I think the knowledge is the first part, but you certainly have to be willing to take action
exactly.
to defend what was gained,
yes,
and to push further.
Right. So go ahead, because you've got so much to tell, and I just want you to have this platform to do that.
Well, okay. Can we go back to the photos for a minute? Yes. Okay. Now, if you look at the photo on the upper right,
Okay,
that was taken in June of 1966.
okay.
This is the first day that I arrived in the state of Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
So I was a volunteer under a program with the American Friends Service Committee, and we were working.
Oh, American Friends, yeah.
We were working in a all-black community that was known as Valley View, and Valley View had been created by one individual, Reverend McCullough, who was able to purchase land in a federal program, and he encouraged other people that he knew to purchase land, and so you had this
You had a community.
little community of black landowners who were more independent. They were not under the same financial pressure as somebody who was living on
Yeah,
somebody
gotcha.
else's
Yeah.
land there. And that became a center. Now, if we could go to the next batch of slides. Let's see, I'm having trouble there. No, there would be one following that.
Next one. Those are in color, yeah.
Okay, one more. Where did he go? One more. Upper left.
Okay.
You see that black gentleman on the porch swing there?
Yep.
That's Reverend McCullough.
Oh, okay.
Reverend McCullough was the patriarch of Valley View. He was the first landowner. He was the one who encouraged others to purchase land.
Was that like the Rap Road here? That Rap
Well,
Road settlement?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
This is
I'm
very,
just trying to-
This is very rural.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had, over the course of his life, he had fathered 20 children. And so the
pretty
children,
busy.
the children were living there as well. And I lived with Reverend McCullough.
Okay.
The first day that I was there, he put me up in his home. And I saw a rifle sitting in the corner of the bedroom where I was staying. And the next morning when I got up, I asked Reverend McCullough, he said, Reverend McCullough, I thought this was a nonviolent movement. Reverend McCullough said, well, you know, 2 years ago during the Freedom Summer, those Ku Kluxers came around and they burned down St. John's Church not far from here where our people worship. And along about that same time, I heard some noises one night outside of my window, and my dog, Wolf, he started barking. And I took my rifle and I poked it out the window and I fired a couple of shots in them bushes, and they hadn't bothered me since.
So he figured out how to solve the problem.
So this was part of my education.
Your education.
In the movement.
Well, we
yes.
want to encourage people to go
Yes,
to the
let's say
event
it again.
on February the 3rd.
February 3rd,
And it's
Siena
from
College.
3 to 4:30 at Siena College at the Saracen Student Center. Plenty of parking, and please take some time. Bring your kids even to, I mean, we've got to remember what happened and to commemorate the people that have done
Meet
so
the
much.
veterans of the Civil Rights Movement.
Absolutely. I want to just tell you who's coming up next time. We've got the Forgettable Four. We've got Rabbi Matthew Cutter coming on, St. Paul Society, the Bunbury Players, and DSIC. There are lots of people. I got lots of people coming on the show. Thank you for watching. I'm Ann Perillo, your host for Capital Region Today. I love doing this because I meet people just like Paul Murray here. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, fun. Thank you for watching.